Welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I am going to be chatting with you about Summer Book Bingo. That's right, Summer Book Bingo is back. This is my 6th year hosting this. I started it the very first summer that I was on BookTube as a way to diversify my summer reading. And over the years, the way that I have chosen prompts and the way the board has been laid out has changed, because I think the first year it was just like 2 of certain types of genres to help me diversify my reading. But as the years have gone on, the prompts have become more open-ended, more creative, and it's just been really, really fun to do this every single year with you. I will say that in previous years, I always had a giveaway associated with this board. So it's a 5x5 bingo board, and for every single bingo, it was an entry into a giveaway. I am doing it differently this year, and then I'm actually not doing a giveaway for a couple of reasons. A big one being that there are some big changes coming up in our life that I think is going to make it really difficult for me to keep up with entries. And so as a result, I'm not doing the giveaway portion, but I still wanted to make a board because I love having the board as a fun way to pick reads for the summer, and I know that so many of you do as well. So I hope that you enjoy this board, even if there's no real reward other than a pat on the back and a job well done to yourself. Obviously, you don't have to black out the board. That was never a requirement in previous years. It used to be that each individual bingo counted as an entry with a total possible of 12 entries. So obviously you don't have to black out this board, but if you're looking for a way to diversify your summer reading and to find some fun ways to choose prompts, this is a great one. So I'm going to go over the board square by square so you can see what is on the board. And if there are any prompts that seem a bit tricky, I can kind of clarify those. So the first square is nature, which is kind of in keeping with the theme of this year's board, which is kind of like a camping one. So nature could mean a book that has beautiful nature writing, could have nature in the title, could be a nonfiction about nature or about some sort of animal that lives in a place, so there's so many different ways you could interpret this. The next one is a short story or a novella, pretty self-explanatory. After that, we have challenging. I was thinking of hiking when I put this on here. So this would be a book that maybe intimidates you for some reason. Maybe it's a long book, or maybe it's a book that has a reputation for being difficult, or maybe it's just something that is a little bit outside of your comfort zone. Next, we have a book in a series. Again, very self-explanatory. Could be a book in a series that you're trying to continue, or the first book in a brand new series. Then we have trailblazing. So this again can be interpreted different ways. So it could be something where the main character has done something that is trailblazing in whatever way, or it could be that the author themselves who wrote the book is a trailblazer in whatever genre or ideas or kinds of things that they write about. So you could interpret that several different ways. On to the second row, we have second chance. So this is a book or an author that you are giving a second chance to. So it could be a book that you previously DNF'd, or a book that you previously read and you're like, I don't know how I feel about that. I want to try that again. It could be an author that you haven't liked something else of their works that you've read and you're giving them another try. Next, we have crisis. So I actually ask for help from my patrons to help come up with some prompts. So a lot of these prompts are here because of them, because they are so creative and it's just really fun. So this prompt actually was from Dia, who suggested crisis bonding as a prompt, and some of the examples she gave were putting together IKEA furniture or trying to get everyone out the door into church on a Sunday morning, which I thought was hilarious. So I wanted to include that, but I decided to just do crisis rather than crisis bonding, because you don't really know when you start a book. At least you don't always know whether or not this crisis is going to be something that causes people to draw together, or if it's just a moment of growth for our main character and they're kind of separating and starting a new path, or you don't know. So crisis could be interpreted in so many ways. Could be like a historical fiction that takes place during a war or a natural disaster. It could be a main character having a personal crisis of some sort. And so there's so many different ways that you can interpret this one as well, which I tried to keep the prompts very open-ended, so that way it was a fun way to choose books, but also it didn't like shoehorn shoehorn you in too much. Next, we have fire on the cover. I could say in the title as well, because if the title has fire in it, then it's on the cover. So either way you want to do that. Next, we have youth. So again, this could be a coming of age story about a young person. This could be a YA. This could be a middle grade of any genre within those age ranges. And then we have From Your Shelves. Pretty self-explanatory. This isn't a library book. This is a book that is already on your shelf. It could be a book that you've had on your shelves for a really long time, or it could be a book that you just got recently. There's no real qualification for that, but I really wanted to include this prompt on here because I am trying really hard to read more from my shelves and prioritize books that have been sitting on my shelves for years and I've wanted to get to, but I haven't. On to the third row. The first prompt is a book that's over 500 pages. I'm pretty sure this prompt has been on here every single year, along with short story and novella, because it just kind of mixes it up. So it doesn't require it to be any sort of genre. It could be a classic, could be a fantasy, could be a literary fiction, could be a romance. Although I don't think most romances are over 500 pages, but I'm sure that there are some. So however you want to work that, and you have the whole summer to do it. Next, we have a friend recommendation. So a book recommended by a friend. The free space can be used for another book if you want it to. I've had some people do that over the years where a book that didn't fit any of the prompts, they put right there in the free space. I personally have never done that. I have always used the free space as a free space that I didn't have to read anything for. It was just there and made a bingo easier. Next, we have a comforting read. This could be a reread of a favorite book. It could just be something that's from a genre that is comforting to you. It could be a book that you end up choosing afterwards that you're like, wow, that really brought me a lot of comfort. And then you put that in that slot. Next, we have escapism. So any book that makes you feel like you're escaping the real world. Immediately what comes to mind for me is like a fantasy novel that literally takes you away to another land that doesn't even exist, but it doesn't have to be a sci-fi or a fantasy or something that feels like an escape from the real world. It just could be any book that just kind of whisks you away and takes you out of your ordinary life. Next, we have light academia. So I think that people talk a lot about dark academia, especially in the fall, because it gives you those kind of gothic vibes. Light academia, it has some similarities with dark academia in that they both celebrate knowledge, but in very different ways. So light academia is more focused on nature and poetry and beauty and finding joy and growth like in the world. And so it's a much more uplifting type of academia. And if you're looking for some suggestions of books that might fit in this category, I actually have a video coming up very soon that will have a list of recommendations for you. Next, we have a translated work. So pretty obvious, any book that was written in a language other than the one you're reading it in. Next, we have Off the Grid. This was another Patreon suggestion that I just really loved. I thought it was really creative because you could make it so this is a book, could be like a nonfiction about living off the grid. It could be that one of the characters in the book does live off the grid. Or one of the suggestions from my patron is to have it be a book that was written before cell phones and social media. So I thought that that was a fun way of looking at it as well. Next, we have a friend group. So basically that your book just has a group of friends in it. Next, we have a new to you setting. So could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be somewhere that you have been or want to go. It could be a fictional place that's not even real, but just a place that you've never read a book set in this place before. Next, we have night sky or stars. So this could be that it's on the cover, or it could be that it has any one of those three words in the title. Next, we have a not as popular book. I typically have a buzzy book space on my board, and this year I decided to do the absolute opposite of that, is a not as popular book. So you can interpret this as a book like maybe you look at your Goodreads TBR and you see the lowest rated one on there and decide to read that. Or a book that you have low expectations going into, or you've heard some negative buzz about, or just a book that no one's really talking about right now. Maybe it's a book that used to be popular a few years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but now it seems like not very many people are reading it. So it doesn't have to be a book that's necessarily lowly rated, just one that's not popular right now. Next, we have a new to you author. Again, self-explanatory. Then we have essay, play, or poetry. This was another Patreon recommendation. So I thought that this was really fun because I've never had any of these be a prompt before. They actually specifically said an essay or play. I included poetry as well to kind of broaden it just a little bit more. I'll be honest that these are not things that I typically read a lot of. I'm trying this year to read more poetry, but in general, that's not something I've done in the past. And having it be an essay, poetry, or play, if it's poetry, you could read like one poem or you could read a book of poetry. And so it makes it easier. But those are genres that I think are not as typically read on BookTube. I don't hear people talking about those genres as much. So I think it's kind of cool to kind of open that up and have it be something that might be a little bit outside the norm. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you read lots of essays, lots of plays, lots of poetry. Maybe this will be an easy prompt for you to fill. But I purposely threw poetry in there as well to make it so there is like a smaller option if people are intimidated by reading an essay or a play. Reading a poem is not that hard. And last, we have a 5-star prediction. So a book that you think is going to be a slam dunk, doesn't matter whether or not it actually ends up being 5 stars, just a book that's highly anticipated, that you're really excited to read and that you think you're going to love. So that is the board for this year. I hope that you are excited by these prompts because I know that I am. I'm really excited to see what books I can fit in where because I do already have some summer reading plans, but there are a lot of gaps that I'll be able to fill in, and this will make it really, really fun to do that. If you have any questions about any of the prompts, feel free to pop those in the comments down below. I look forward to seeing what all of you are reading this summer. I will still have a summer book bingo channel on my Discord, so that way you can pop on there if you want to share things, if you want to chat about what you're reading and kind of make it more social. That is totally something that you can do. Even though I won't be tracking bingos anymore, you can still share on there. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and I will see you again next time.